Hi there viewers, welcome back. This is Frederick Noronha, your host on Literary Goa, the program that looks at books and authors on Goa, about Goa, from Goa. Today we have with us Maria Inez Figueira, who is the delegate of Fundação Orient in Goa. She's here with a special reason. The thing is that Fundação, if you've not been there, if you've not seen it, it's an interesting institution in itself. But apart from that, they have a very active books program, which has been going strong for very many years now. You'd like to introduce that, Inez?
Yes, definitely. So thank you so much for inviting me on this program. It's very good to know that Fundação Orient is part of the literary panorama of Goa, and we are very proud of that. Fundação Orient has different kinds of support for publication. One of them being the Goa Short Stories Competition. That 1 year we have the competition, the year after we have normally the publication of an anthology, which we do very well with Goa 1556.
Someone who might not know, the short story competition invites stories in 4 languages, and
yes.
The process is on now.
So yes, so the short story competition aims basically at keeping the multi-language tradition of Goa alive, and more than that, also to keep the tradition of storytelling. Because as you know, in Goa there was a tradition of every grandmother gathering grandchildren and telling a story out of memory. And this tradition, which was very oral, came again into the radio, and because the radio is not what it used to be, it lost a bit the flame, and we want exactly to bring that back. So in the first case, to keep language traditions alive, so Portuguese, English, Marathi, and Konkani, both Konkani and Marathi in both scripts. So we want to keep that alive, and at the same time, what it takes to write a short story, and to keep the tradition of short stories alive. So every year we have a contest that has an open call. That for this year, for instance, is opened from the 15th of July till the 31st of August. After which we have a jury that meets and comes with a short list. So the short list, normally applications go around 100 to 120 short stories that we collect.
So 100 to 120 stories come in?
Come in, exactly.
Okay.
From those, 25 are selected by the jury after a long process. And those 25 are what's going to be published in the anthology.
So if I can interrupt, it's very interesting, because what you're actually doing is taking short stories in 4 languages, yes, translating them, yes, judging them, and then publishing it in English.
Yes, I mean for a practical reason, because obviously nobody can speak the 4 languages
at the same time.
Yeah, so
sometimes.
the book basically is in English, but we don't want to refrain authors from writing in their own language. So the jury members basically are experts in the 4 languages. So
that's quite a job in that sense.
It is.
I mean, because it's very tough to compare creativity in different languages, but you have to do it in a multilingual situation of Goa.
Exactly, but more than anything, I think this is the only country, to the best of my knowledge, obviously, in India, that basically judge all languages at the same level.
I see.
So there's not a category for Hindi or a category for Marathi or all language come to the same pitch, and we basically they are going to be judged on the quality of the story, not if the English or the Marathi is perfect.
Yeah.
That is not judged at all.
Okay.
So we want because with the language comes a tradition and a cultural atmosphere. So we want that to be there. So, and after that, we translate them into English, because obviously, for the sake of the anthology, it wouldn't be possible to have it in 4 languages.
This is an interesting experiment, because if I'm not wrong, Goa had a very strong short story writing culture in the newspapers, yes, Portuguese newspapers at one stage. It still carries on in Marathi and Konkani newspapers, but in English newspapers it's not there.
No, and in Portuguese they don't exist.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Goa Today, the magazine does carry short stories, but the newspapers don't. And I was surprised when Paul Melo Castro, did the translations of all these stories right from the 1880s till 1970s.
They're very, very interesting.
Yeah, and showed us that we were losing out on this tradition. So in a certain sense, would it be right to say that you all have tried to give a boost to short story writing?
Definitely, definitely. This was a tradition that, as you said, the writing was there, but there was oral tradition too. So we want to fix that. We want to be able to have an anthology that from generations, the new generations will be able to see what were, because the contest is for professional and non-professionals. So I don't think there's any other anthology that publishes texts from amateur writers. So I think that's very interesting too.
Is the response growing? Are there any problems with this?
Like we've been very lucky because we don't have to advertise that much. People they already know this is going to be the 5th contest. So people already know that the contest is coming. Yeah, so they are waiting for it. So as soon as we announce, we have a ton of requests for the regulations so that they can start working on it so that they have their dates correct. So we are going to, so on the 31st of August is the last day for entries. Then the judging process starts, and normally we announce the winners on the winners are part of
the shortlist first.
Yeah, the shortlist of 25.
Yeah.
And then the winners are normally, obviously, the stories that got more punctuation from this 25. The winners are 3. So we have number 1, we have the Albano Couto prize, because I have to refer this, it's very important that when this competition
The amount
started,
is also important. The amount is also important.
No, yeah, exactly. So
how much is it?
So the amount of the first prize is 20,000 rupees. 20. And it's given by Dr. Maria Aurora Cote, which was one of the people that were more enthusiastic about starting this competition and the anthology. She said, "I will always support this prize because I really think that it makes a great, a great job for Goan authors." So she was a big inspiration and continues participating every year in the contest. The second prize is the Semana da Cultura Indo-Portuguesa prize, with an amount of 15,000 rupees. And the third prize is the Fundação Orient prize with 10,000 rupees.
That's quite a good encouragement.
Yes.
But how do you get new writers into the field? Because it should not remain a closed circuit like, no?
I'm very interested actually in the ones that repeat.
I see.
Because you completely, you read their stories along the years, you can see a narrative of their own stories, a growth in their own work. It's very interesting to see. But majority of the stories are normally new, so it's very interesting that we are regenerating, and every year new authors come.
So, incidentally, this is the program Literary Goa, and we are talking to Maria Inez Figueira, who is the delegate of Fundação Orient, from our studios in the heart of Panjim, very close to the Mandovi riverfront. Inez, the next part of your books, obviously, and the most important part, is the work on the Trindade family, the Trindade father and daughter, no? So Antonio Xavier de Trindade and his daughter Angela Trindade. So I think, whenever I come to Fundação, I'm surprised at how few people have actually been there. So many friends say, this is the first time we are coming here. And I think this is an interesting resource which they are missing out. It's so close in Panjim, close to the People's High School in the Fontanes Mala area of Panjim. It's worth a visit, I would say.
Definitely.
It's worth a visit also more now because of the drawings of this great man.
Yes, I mean it's very interesting. Antonio Xavier Trindade is a Goan painter. He was born in 1870 and died in 1935. So he comes from the naturalistic school. What's very interesting about Trindade is that he represents exactly what, for us, being Goan means, which is
one of the many things of what being Goa means. Goa has many things to many people.
No, definitely. But one of the Goa, being Goan, is a geography much bigger than this territory.
True.
So it touches many continents, it touches many languages, and Antonio Xavier Trindade completely absorbs this, all the cultures he touched him back. So
he was Bombay based, no?
He was Bombay based, born in Goa. So
yeah,
he was from a traditional Catholic family. brought up in a Western kind of way.
JJ School of Art.
Then went to JJ School of Art, lived all his life in Bombay, had a very interesting circle of friends, among whom were Annie Besant, for instance.
I see.
So there's a lot of dimensions to this painter. But for us, he really signifies what being Goan is.
I think in one sentence, someone called him the Rembrandt of the East, no?
Yes, because of the technique of his work.
His portraits are amazing, no?
Outstandingly good, technically wise and aesthetically wise. They are very, very beautiful. So this collection is permanently exhibited in Fundação Orient, open to everybody, free. If you need a guided tour, you can have a guided tour with no cost.
Open
whatsoever.
during office hours?
Open from 10 to 6 every day, except Sundays and holidays. And we have, resources for children too that want
I
to.
see.
Yes, so children can come. They have their own book of resources. They can paint and they can learn a lot about, his life and work through drawing and through other activities. So there's a lot going on. And, next year, apart from, obviously, we have this wonderful 2 books about António Xavier Trindade and Angela Trindade that were written
both by
Dr. Fatima da Silva Garcias, which is the
historian who has been here incidentally, and
she researched and published these 2 books.
Quite a lot of work has gone into it, no? I think very deep research.
So she's the greatest expert on the Trindade family.
Tracking them down because it's not only Goa, Bombay.
Yes.
It's not only Goa, Bombay. Now it's the US and some.
Yes. So they are in several places in India. They are in the US. They are in Brazil. So
can you tell us a bit of how his art travelled in that sense?
Yes. So António Xavier Trindade lived in Bombay all his life. In Bombay in several places, but his last house was Casa Bianca, which was in Mahim.
I see.
He lived there with some. There were 8 kids. His wife Florentina, which was gone too, and him. But towards the end of his life, Angela, which was also a painter, was the daughter that provided more assistance to the father, because 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, before he died, he lost his legs because of diabetes.
I see.
But he continued painting with the assistance of Angela, obviously. Esther and Angela, 2 sisters, when the father died, Angela has been sometimes to the US, Esther was there already, so they moved permanently to America.
So some paintings went there with them?
So they took the works with them. Some of the works is said that they got lost.
I see.
And so the works we have are basically a collection of works belonging to the Esther Trindade Trust that in 2011 decided to donate this collection to Fundação Orient.
And you all had a tough time to get some of them back because it was international.
So bringing the works, so the works were in bad shape in the US. They got restored in the US, in Georgia, and after that they came to Lisbon. In Lisbon they were exhibited in 2 different places for some time, and then they were in Bombay for a long time because of customs.
I see.
There was a long process knowing where how is an Indian painter, but the works were in the US, but it's donated to a Portuguese institution.
Very complicated.
Very complicated. And I have to admit, it's not simple when you see those papers. It's not simple at all. It's not straightforward. So it was quite a task. So
they're valuable also, no?
They are very valuable. So and in these last few years, most of all, the market has been crazy about António Xavier Trindade, the art market, and they've been valued a lot, especially in the last 5 to 10 years. The collection has gained like substantial value. And obviously, having research about a collection and having publications about a collection and having permanently displayed helps to add value to a collection, obviously.
It wouldn't be fair to have this discussion and not talk a bit about Fundação Orient, because it came here in the mid-90s with a little bit of controversy. Let's say people were not sure what role it would play. Today it's very active in the field of arts, culture, music. a lot of reasons for people to visit you and end up at your place.
Definitely.
Maybe you would like to say a little bit about what you all do and how open it is and how people get onto your mailing list or whatever.
Okay. So Fundação Oriente is in Goa for the last, in 2020 will be 25 years, since 95. We have several areas of work. Philanthropy is one of them, but the most active and the most that people recognize the most is the area of culture. We produce festivals, music festivals like Vencantar or Festival, the Mont Music Festival. We aid the teaching of Portuguese and the teachers of Portuguese as well. We have several grants for publication. We published our own books, but the anchor of our work in Goa, definitely since 2012, has been the collection. It's been the Antonio Trinidad collection, which very interestingly next year will be 150 years of his birth. So we have in our agenda. It's not out yet, but we have a lot of all the activities will go around him and the 25 years of Fundação Oriente in India too.
But in Goa we have this problem where the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, in the sense that many people are not aware of organizations like Fundação. How do they get involved with you all, or how do they join your mailing list?
The last few years has been much easier. Social media actually helps us a lot. So the easiest way to know what we are doing basically is to go on our Facebook page, obviously, because it's the first support that you use.
Yeah.
We have a mailing list as well. More than anything, we have regular programs. So Vencantar is there for 22 years. For 22 years in February and in October, there's always Vencantar. In February, no, September and October, there's always Vencantar. Festival month, 18 years. For 18 years, on the first weekend of February, month festival is there. So obviously, our calendar is quite regular, so people know that these things are happening. Social media, and we have our own mailing list too. It's just called the office from the Saudi and Fonlingas, and we will gladly add you to the.
Goa and Portugal have a kind of a love-hate relationship. Sorry to say this, but it's been a bit tense at times. So do you feel now that 50, 60 years later we've overcome that, and people look at it as more as culture, as music, as something more neutral? It's not like the old equation anymore.
No, not anymore. I think people realized that we are in a different century. I mean, I normally say jokingly, we almost all of us were born after the revolution that ended the Portuguese colonial power, and so for us it doesn't even make sense to think about it. And we want to take advantage of the positive side of it, of these encounters, as I call them. So Goa is an amazing cultural heritage, all over, either buildings or oral traditions, or that at some point...
Music, culture, so many
exactly.
things. Language to a certain extent.
Yes, exactly. All the areas of culture, basically, you would have something that was produced in Goa at that time. And obviously it's produced, co-produced. It depends on the relationship of two cultural traditions. And for me, the interesting part is exactly to look at these co-productions. Importing things from Portugal doesn't make any sense for us. It makes sense to come here and try to produce something together. And that I think we've been quite successful doing. And all these activities and all scholarships strengthen this relationship. And basically, I think this political idea that we are the enemy, or it's gone. It's gone in the minds of the people. I don't think I've never encountered any.
The most attractive word you mentioned is scholarships. People are not aware that if they get admission to university or course in Portugal, there is a chance that they could get the fees supported by you.
There's three types of scholarships that Fundação gives to Portugal nationals who want to come and study in Asia, or Asian nationals, not only Goans. Indian or Japanese or Asian. Southeast Asia, most of all the countries, and in India to Portugal, there's three types of scholarships. So there's doctorate in research, which is from 1 to 3 years. Then there's the courses of Portuguese language and culture with the University of Coimbra. And then there's the short-term scholarships, which are normally for projects of research for field trips. So we have this, for the last 20 years have been there, more than 900 scholarships have been given from in between Portugal and India.
Both sides.
So it's a very interesting program.
Inez, we need to talk about the books program of Fundação, because as far as I remember, it was one of the first subsidies support programs that Goan Books had.
Yeah.
The Goa government also offers its own support now, but before that you all had started. Can you tell us a bit of how it evolved and how it shaped up?
So in the first few years, when Fundação Oriente reached Goa, there was no such program. There was no support, financial support for the publication of any kind of books.
And it was very tough because it's a small market in that sense.
Exactly, no? And I mean, writing in Portuguese and reading in Portuguese is a small market too, unfortunately. So at that point, it was Fundação Oriente made it a point to help the production and publication of these books.
But not only Portuguese books, right?
No, I mean, as long as the theme was Goa. Or either cultural, historical, or in Portuguese, definitely there was some kind of support. Years later, when the government started giving their own grants in several languages, and there was not such a necessity or a need of Fundação Oriente to be so present, so we decided to divert a bit of funds to other projects. But we kept on having an acquisitions policy. So every book in Portuguese, we would buy a certain number of books. So also to basically allow these publications to circulate. And because it's not only putting the books out there, they have to circulate. Otherwise,
they have to be
no
visible.
point.
Yes.
So that was.
They have to be read.
Yes, there is some books that we still, there was a very interesting project that we did, which is this SPMI in Portuguese. So this book is translated. The author is Anita Pinto, which is a very well-known story writing author. And what happened is like it's written in Konkani, translated into Konkani in English and Portuguese.
And Marathi.
And Marathi now. Fantastic. So for the 4 languages that we speak in Goa, this book is translated to. And it was an interesting project because it had many translators. It was almost like cow-translate. So it was a very interesting project that we decided to fund fully, because it was really, really interesting. And again, with the Goa 1556, we developed this project. Since the Goan short story competition started, and we have our own publications, we don't support so much the publication of books, but we still buy a small amount of books when they come out.
Would you consider, lastly, this is a tricky question, would you consider yourself to be a daughter, daughter-in-law, or mother of Goa?
I'm all of those.
All of those.
I'm all of those. So definitely a mother of Goa. My son and my daughter were born in Goa. So there's no way that Goa is going to stop making part of my life. I'm married to a Goan, so I'm in that sense I have a family in Goa and I'm a daughter. And I don't know, I don't think it would be possible for me to avoid for more years that I can go back or live somewhere else. It will never be, because I've been very happy in Goa.
I see.
So everybody opens their arms and I feel basically at home. So no, there's no way I can avoid Goa in my life.
It's nice to hear that, but I think that Goa can grow on you, and you have been also very integrative into the place. If I could say one thing, I know you as a person who's very efficient and delivers the results. That's because you're only part Portuguese, right?
Yeah, I'm part Belgian.
I don't mean to insult the Portuguese, but we have got that inefficiency.
No, I always said that Goans and Portuguese, we have exactly the same software.
The same software, the same good points and the same bad points.
Exactly, both. My mother is not an European, and I think probably it's from there.
Not an European.
Yeah, she's Belgian. So I by default I became Belgian too, but there's a lot of potential in Goa. I think you just have to work it out a bit. But
and even I think you'll have played a very interesting role, particularly with Venkantar and things like that, where things which are lying just below the surface have a chance to surface, and they kind of get a new life of their own. And it's important that we don't lose these things of the past.
The past is there, but we rewrite it every day by the things we do. So For instance, a Venezuelan and a Goan institution working on an exhibition together makes part obviously that we have a past together, but we are reinventing it and creating a new cultural trend, which is much more interesting for all of us than only having a Portuguese side of it, only a Goan side of it. So
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And on that
Thank
note,
you.
we really appreciate you for
Thank
coming
you.
here and taking
Thank you.
time off your busy schedule. Thanks, Inez. All
Thank
the
you
best.
so much.